would you like to rank in AI search? Michael Buckbee will tell us how. Now, you didn't know that you needed to be ranked in AI search, and Michael Buckbee will tell us why it's so important that you get ranked in AI search as much as it was important for many years to be #1 in Google. Now, Michael has worked at the intersection of marketing and technology for nearly 2 decades, and past clients include the US Navy, Fortune 100 companies, YC startups, presidential candidates, federal agencies, rock bands, and foreign governments. And today, he's the co-founder of Knowatoa, a service that tracks brand visibility, rankings, and sentiment within AI search services like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google Gemini. So, Michael, tell us why it's so important for people to be ranked in AI search and how can they do it?
AI Superwoman podcast with Lily Patrascu shares the world's most innovative AI tools and processes to go from technophobe to AI pro, attract leads, close sales, automate your business, enhance productivity, and deploy AI agents to do your work.
Sure. I think the #1 reason is that we don't have a choice. And, you mentioned Google. Even if we pretended like ChatGPT and all these new AI services, if we pretended like they didn't exist, we still would need to make changes to our marketing right now because Google is making changes. And these are the most dramatic changes we've seen literally decades. Google has started to have AI overviews, which is like a summary of the results. That's really changed the amount of traffic and the types of traffic and when you get traffic from Google directly. And now even more dramatically, they have an AI mode and deep research tools, which people call like agentic search, in which literally Google is going out, pulling in a number of websites, summarizing those on the fly, then giving you the answer to what you're looking for. So if you're looking like, where can I buy an e-bike? It will look up 20 different sites, find it, and give you one answer. So the strategies that we have for content and the technical things we need to do to rank are really changing.
Thank you. So tell us what entrepreneurs can do in order to rank in AI search. Now, one funny thing about that is that someone reached out to me and said, we found your podcast because of ChatGPT search. And I was, what? I rank ChatGPT search? That's amazing. And that was just for one of my podcasts. So how can entrepreneurs leverage AI and AI search in order to rank and be one of the first few that are being put at the top of the search? Because as we know, people tend to look at the very first few, and if they're getting a really good result with the first few, they may not even check the 4th, the 5th, and whatever.
Yeah. And with AI search, it may not even be that many. It may just say, like, here's the one you need. So I think there's 3 steps here. One, you want to make sure some basic technical things are in place. My presumption is everyone has a website. You want to make sure that these AI search tools can read your website so that they understand more about your business, and then they can recommend you to your clients. In the same way that Googlebot, reads your website and then you show up in Google results, the same thing needs to happen for dozens of these other new AI up and coming services. So make sure that happens. 2, look at your content. And right now, so much of the content game, like in the past, has been like trying to rank for very low intent, but high volume keywords, because we're addicted to traffic. And so we write something that's very definitional or very informational, and it's almost like a Wikipedia article. People find it, they come, but they don't really convert. And so we're trying to get people to move their content strategy to be further down the funnel, to not describe like definitional things, but to really describe like why your business is the best, what are the aspects of it, what really works, and to win at those queries that people are putting into ChatGPT and Google. And then finally, we want to improve how people distribute that content. So you want to rank better. You can write something and put it on your site, and then you can put it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a relationship with Microsoft. Microsoft has a relationship with OpenAI. Part of that relationship is that OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, read a lot of the LinkedIn information and use it. So there's benefits both for your social side and for the AI search side.
Thank you. Is there anything else entrepreneurs can do in order to make sure that the AI bots that I think are crawling your website can actually get to the right information? And also, is there any importance in like regularly adding new original content, or what needs to happen for the AI bots to get the right information to kind of push you to the top of the searches in ChatGPT or other AI searches?
Yeah, so we have a tool on our site, free tool that you can use will do an active check of your site to see if the AI bots can actually reach it. A lot of people are using Cloudflare. Cloudflare is like a single check mark that will block all of these. Maybe your IT group blocked them. A lot of times there's behavioral things or like a firewall or a security plugin. And this is beyond even like your robots.txt, which a lot of people know you can do things to. These are other kinds of blocks that are really hard to bring up. And we found a lot of people are even blocking Google. Google has the Google bot, then they have a Google extended, which is what does AI mode. And if you're blocking that, you won't show up in any of those results. So at the very least, it's good to check that.
Thank you. So imagine I have Cloudflare. That means I'm blocking basically all the AI bots that are trying to search my sites and rank me for those things. And imagine that I do have a lot of bots that try to attack me and so on my websites. Mm-hmm. How can I still leverage Cloudflare and not block the AI searches the AI bots that are likely to rank me? What can I do to protect my site and at the same time to appear in these AI searches?
Yeah. So, if it's a marketing and informational site, my general recommendation is to, sort of embrace the bots, that if they aren't attacking you and they aren't malicious, that you let them read the site. And there's a lot of, I think, ways to do that, to cache. Cloudflare has caching. Cloudflare, none of this is against Cloudflare. I think they're a great service, but you need to, like any tool, you need to customize it to the behaviors you want. And, they make that fairly easy. And it's just important to have some consideration around this and make it happen. Also, I realized I didn't answer the second part of your question, which is like, how often should you update content? What type of content should you put out there? And a big change that's happening is I think there is an issue with AIs hallucinating. People often have concerns about that. And what we're seeing is a lot more queries that are happening that are making ChatGPT more of a representative of your company. Like one of our customers said to us, hey, ChatGPT is our most popular and least well-trained representative of the company because everybody's asking all these questions and maybe it's saying the right answers. So I think it's very important that, a lot of these type of questions, you create answers to on your site and you make sure they're there. An example would be, if you're in Europe, GDPR is a big thing. You need to make sure all the SaaS companies, like an email service you use is, GDPR compliant. You check in ChatGPT, you really hope it says that your company is GDPR compliant. And, if not, you won't even be in the running for that. And that's not a traditional SEO type activity, but it's part of the new search world we're living in. So,
thank you. Tell us your 10 commandments for someone who is to get started to get ranked in AI search. What would they need to do? Like some 10 very basic but very important steps for them to rank in AI search generators like ChatGPT and Perplexity and Google Gemini and other similar ones.
Well, so we've already talked about the bot stuff. So let's set that aside. Let's talk really about content. We're using LLMs. LLMs is the large language model. I think we need to change our language to be very precise. And so the best thing to do is to figure out both what are the questions and, what are the answers we want to give, and then to write exactly that out and then distribute it as much as possible. So write more on the actual business objectives, on, sales objectives, on things that, you might have held internally, and put those out there. I think another commandment is in traditional SEO, there's always a lot of concern about a duplicate content penalty, which is taking, the words on your site and putting them on another site or putting them somewhere else. And the concern there was always that Google would penalize both of you, or it would split the traffic between these things. And what we're seeing in the AI world is that doing that, taking the article that you have and putting the whole article on LinkedIn, taking the article you have and like reposting it, that's actually really beneficial to get just repetition of the message you're trying to get out there and to rank higher. So,
Thank you. What other steps would you recommend entrepreneurs to take to be able to rank in AI searches?
I think a great step they can take right now is go to ChatGPT and just ask it what it knows about your company. Ask it, and to try to tease out where those gaps in the knowledge are, and then, write content for that. That's very easy, very low cost. The other big thing is to really monitor the sentiment about your company. In the US, there's a huge bank called Wells Fargo. ChatGPT hates Wells Fargo more or less. And I say hates, it's not really thinking. What it has is, this general idea of what everyone has said about Wells Fargo on the internet. And it's generally bad because they had some really bad practices a couple years ago where they were like opening accounts fraudulently on behalf of their customers and all this weirdness. And they had a massive, like multi-$100 million fine. And so if you ask like, hey, should I use Wells Fargo or should I use this other bank? And it will say, well, they're both here, but do an ethical review of Wells Fargo before you use them. In the same way, you want to ask ChatGPT, like, what do you think about my company? Is it a good company? What is the general sentiment of this? Because it bleeds into the results in a way it doesn't in traditional search.
Thank you. Tell us more about how you've been able to leverage AI search to rank your own company in ChatGPT, and what were some of the steps that you used that were useful?
So one step is, I think repetition is the biggest ranking factor. And, the way to get more repetition is to get more distribution. So certainly I'm going on podcasts to talk to people. I think education is great. We focus less on our own site SEO and more on what we call siteless SEO, where we're trying to get this message into the social platforms, into the other areas. And the nice thing about that is that it's all directionally positive. This isn't something, entrepreneurs, they have limited budgets, limited time. So this isn't like a whole new thing. This is beneficial in lots of ways. If you take really good, compelling business content that's going to help you rank and you put that onto your socials, that's great for social. You put it in your email newsletter that's published as, on sites as well. That's beneficial. So it's a lot of these activities are just useful in and of themselves with a bonus of helping you rank in AI search.
Thank you. What are the top companies that are already ranking in AI searches doing that hasn't already been mentioned?
I think the top companies that are really doing well with AI in general, as well as AI search, are really thinking beyond search intent, which is, search intent is you put in a keyword. What is it the person's really trying to get out of this? The best ones, what they're doing is they're thinking about task intent, like what is truly, the larger picture of what their users are doing. They're creating content to help at that level. And the other thing they're doing, and this is something our tool helps with, is looking at the current outputs of what's coming out of ChatGPT and the other services, and then reflecting that back in their content. So here's an example. We do a lot of work with SaaS customers. And so, if you ask what is the best in my category, in older versions of ChatGPT, it would just give you a list of companies. Now it gives you the company, and then it says, this is best for, and it has a paragraph, and it says key features, and then like a bullet list of key features. So our companies and our clients are now reflecting that back, and they're, going in and saying, here is why we are the best. Here, we are the best for this segment that we're going after. And here are our key features. And they're now reflecting that back and then able to better represent themselves and get more conversions and visibility in the AI search.
Thank you. Imagine that I want to be number one for my book publishing company. Does it work at all to go to, let's say, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google Gemini and ask questions to ChatGPT, whereby first I give some paragraphs about my company and say, my book publishing is the best in the world for this, and this, and the other. And then I would give, let's say if I was to ask this kind of question like regularly, would it help me to rank? Because I would basically include what I'm saying into ChatGPT? And then if I say it, enough times, will it help me actually to rank? Because then at some point, will ChatGPT kind of learn that actually my company is the number one company in the world? Let's say coupled with actually doing good work outside of ChatGPT.
Yeah, let's just say as a baseline, you're number one in our hearts already. So you're already working. So that's great. Mostly there's less influence that's happening direct through the conversations than there is through the general data collection that's happening across the entire web. And, the AI search services are very aggressively trying to draw on information. This isn't something where you need to coerce them or do something to. You just need to not actively block them. They will find your site and read all of the information on it. Sometimes way too much, but still it's a bargain. So I don't think there's much influence to be gained, at least for now, from the data we've seen from doing the conversations. Again, I'm very focused on marketing ROI. What's the best bang for your buck? I think you're far better off just publishing more and repeating that message and doing your best job to distribute it as widely as possible. So,
thank you. Is it helpful to repeat the exact same message in a lot of media, or is it more helpful to find different angles that, let's say, your customers are looking for, and then to share that? So is it more useful to kind of like find different things that people are interested in, and then to kind of, and then coupling that with how important is it to rank in, let's say entrepreneur or some of the high profile media that people recognize, and versus being featured in hundreds or thousands of smaller media that people are not so aware of? Is it more important to have quantity, or is it more important to be featured in a few selected high profile, high credibility?
So to the first part, which is sort of how much is this like literally copy and paste versus like, trying to put some different angles on this. In general, is like just trying to get a mental framework for this. I think you want your questions to be pretty much the same, and you want your answers to be really diverse. So, hey, what is the best, in this category? That's a pretty strict question, but the answer, that you're trying to develop content wise, you can answer that with, oh, here's this great review we got that describes something good we did. That's part of why we're best. We just launched these new features. That's part of it. It's, we're going into, Q2, Q3. Here's some of the wins we've had. Here's, part of our philosophy. All of those can, be part of that answer, and that can be repeated in lots of different ways. And that's a great way to, keep things fresh, and to, all of that out on social, putting that in your newsletter, putting that in videos. All of that's positive to begin with, and it helps. To the second part of the question, which is really in traditional SEO, there is a huge difference between getting a link from the New York Times and getting a link from your personal LinkedIn going to this. There is not the same mechanisms of trust and ranking and priority in the AI search world. It's much more at this point repetition. And, the caveat there is that the prestige and influence of, say, the New York Times, if they put out a social media message on something, it gets repeated in a lot of other places and, amplified. And that works, but that at the same level, that's still the number, not the trust of it. So I certainly think it is much easier and very beneficial to publish on your own, to get other, influencers, to get other people in your niche to put this information out there.
Thank you. Tell us how Knowatoa helps entrepreneurs with brand visibility, rankings, and sentiment within AI search services like ChatGPT.
Sure. So we actually have a framework, and it's not specific to Knowatoa. It's just a framework for, everyone is right now at the same point, which is that we have one foot in the traditional search world that gets us a lot of traffic, and we have one foot in the AI search world of how do we get better conversions out of, less traffic, but more high intent. And the framework just tries to go through all the stuff we've talked about today in a very structured way, talking about the bots, how to check this, how to change your content strategy, how to, think about some of these different things. So that's a great place to start. And then our service actually just helps automate parts of that. It's a lot of stuff you could do on your own by going into, ChatGPT every week and running 50 different queries and then seeing what the results are. We automate that to look for those things for you, to show where you're at against your competitors, and, to keep track of all this because it's a lot. It's just a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. What are the worst things people do when wanting to rank in AI search services?
I think the worst thing people can do is to put their money and efforts in the wrong spot. A great example of this is, when I used to be an in-house SEO demand person at a big company, all of our efforts were really on driving that traffic. And so we would go for these definitional articles that would drive tens of thousands of visitors. And now those are being answered by Google's AI overview. And I see a lot of people putting a lot of emphasis on now being a citation or a source in that AI overview. Like in my example, it used to be cybersecurity. It's like, what's a firewall? If you rank for that, you get tens of thousands of traffic. Is it really beneficial to me as a company to be one of 30 different sources in Google's AI overview? Not really. I mean, you're there. You're probably not getting much traffic. You're probably not even getting brand recognition out of that, even though you're listed. So, being really deliberate about where you go, what you're trying to do, and to really just always focus on this is about business. We're trying to get customers. We're trying to get prospects in the door, and not worry about the vanity metrics is probably the biggest issue we're dealing with. So.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you to find out more about Knowatoa.
We're on LinkedIn. So you can follow Knowatoa there. You can follow myself, Michael Buckbee. And certainly I would encourage people to, even if it doesn't seem like the most pressing thing in the world to you today, check out knowatoa.com. You can put your site in. We do a free report. We do check the bots if they can get your site. It's a great place to start.
Thank you.
Follow me for more AI productivity tools.